I got drunk and slept with the top scholar in the imperial garden, and the emperor caught me red-handed. He stared at the red marks on the scholar's wrist. Lowering his voice, he said, pained, even if you can't stand him, you can't just hit someone. This is the top scholar, the face of the court. Your Majesty, you misunderstand. The eldest princess didn't hit me. She just slept with me. Before I could speak, Lu Yuanhui's cold voice drifted over from behind. My brother grabbed me and dragged me behind the rockery. Hissing, he asked me, Zhao Changjing, what are you doing? I rubbed my forehead with my right hand, and explained helplessly, at last night's palace banquet, I had a few too many drinks. When I was leaving, I ran into Lu Yuanhui walking out of the palace alone. I remembered the old grudge from last month's hunting grounds, when he scolded me in public. I acted rashly and lost my composure. In a fit of temper, I had him dragged back to my bedchamber. I sat on the chair, watching Lu Yuanhui angrily shout, how dare you scold me in public? You fake, sanctimonious prude. But his face was just too handsome. His lips were pressed together, silent. As I kept scolding, my voice got lower. As I kept scolding, I couldn't help myself. I woke up once in the middle of it, looking at Lu Yuanhui lying in the blankets. My mind went blank for a moment. I was a bit panicked, but then I thought, my brother has a harem of 3 palaces and 6 courtyards, but doesn't want any of them. He's devoted to being someone's secret lover. It's been 3 years, and he still hasn't been promoted to the main wife. I, the dignified eldest princess, sleeping with a top scholar is nothing, right? It's just the Zhao family tradition. So, I felt relieved. I reached out and hugged her waist again, closing my eyes to continue sleeping. Her whole body stiffened, but she didn't struggle. Until the sky was fully bright, I slowly got dressed. Lu Yuanhui also woke up. She stared at the bed canopy without moving. All right, I said, waving my hand. I'll compensate you for last night. But before my foot could even cross the threshold, I heard a crash behind me. I turned around, and my soul nearly flew away. Lu Yuanhui had somehow brought a tall stool from somewhere. She was standing on it, holding the rope from last night, swinging it onto the beam. I rushed over and grabbed her. What are you doing? She looked down at me, her eyes as still as dead water. Only by dying can my honor be preserved? And also preserve your highness's reputation. I stomped my feet in panic. If he really died, the censorate would drown me in criticism. I quickly asked him, do you want the big mansion on West Jean 7th Street? Lu Yuanhui stopped moving and looked down at me. That look was very strange, like being doused with cold water. I took the chance to kick the stool over, and he fell to the ground. He got up and ran to smash his head against the wall. I held his waist tightly. He charged forward stubbornly like a mule. I gritted my teeth and said, I'm all in. Think about your future. I guarantee you'll reach the 3rd rank in 2 years, and enter the Grand Secretariat in 3. After saying this, even I felt. 3 years to enter the Grand Secretariat? Even my late father, the Emperor, would be stunned. But he really stopped moving. I breathed a sigh of relief. There's hope for this. He was panting, with his back to me. His spine was stiff for a long time. He slowly pried my hands off and walked to the table, picking up the small silver knife used for cutting fruit. Your Highness, this matter is not entirely. He then began to quote the classics. A gentleman's world is lie white jade stained with dust. Living is lie a walking corpse. It's better to die cleanly. I listened, my scalp tingling. Finally, he said, I trouble your highness to bring me a brush and ink. What for? He looked up, his gaze clear. I am writing my suicide note. I will make it clear that I am ashamed of my teacher. And it has nothing to do with your highness. The knife tip was pressed against his heart. I didn't dare to move. From his future to his marriage, I talked about everything. I know. Do you have someone in your heart? Do you feel guilty towards them? Tell me who it is, and I'll go find my brother. I'll have him make her a commandery princess and guarantee her wealth and honor. His hand holding the knife paused. He looked up. I have no one in my heart. I asked again, then what? He started reciting the sage's books again. Loyalty, integrity, incorruptibility, lie a mountain. One said after another. I listened until my head ached. You don't want wealth, you don't want a future. You don't have a marriage either. I was completely out of ideas. Then what do you want? The words blurted out before I could think. You can't possibly want me to take responsibility, can you? After I said it, I was stunned myself. He gently placed the silver knife on the table. Then he lowered his eyes, his eyelashes, casting a small shadow on his face. His voice was so low it was almost inaudible. He looked up. Your Highness, your word is law. His clear gaze fell on my face. After I finished telling him, my brother laughed. First his shoulders shook, then his whole body trembled. Lie, he was completely out of ideas. Lie, he had gone crazy. You're something else. Really something else. He scolded me for a full incense stick's time. From absurd to scoundrel. Absurd, the emperor cherished talent. Lu Yuanhui, a pragmatic type, was his favorite. After scolding me, he turned to pat Lu Yuanhui on the shoulder. Said earnestly, Lu Qing. You've studied hard for over 20 years. You've finally made it, but if you become the consort, you'll truly be cut off from the court. Lu Yuanhui listened, his gaze calm. Your Majesty, I am a traditional man. I have read the sage's books since childhood. I know shame and value honor. His voice wasn't loud, but every word was clear. Lie, a parrot. First, if I die, it preserves my integrity and also clears your highness's name. Lu Yuanhui turned to me. Second, his gaze was fixed. Since we have already performed the marital act, we should bear the name of husband and wife. My brother was choked up. He opened his mouth to say something, then swallowed it back. He probably had never seen such a stubborn top scholar. The air was still for a moment. My brother rubbed his brow and looked at me. His eyes said, you caused this yourself. You deal with it. My throat went dry. I looked at Lu Yuanhui. There was no extra expression on his face. He just waited quietly, with an attitude of you figure it out. I'm ready to die at any moment. My scalp tingled for a long time. I heard my own voice, dry and raspy. I'll marry you. After I said it, I was stunned myself. I listened to my own heartbeat. Watching Lu Yuanhui's reaction, I saw him suddenly bow, performing a proper, respectful salute. Thank you for your kindness, your highness. My brother led us back to the hall to write the imperial decree. Lu Yuanhui stood by the desk watching. His eyes were like a measuring ruler, scanning every single word. My brother's brush tip paused. He looked up and asked him, Lu Qing, do you have any objections? Lu Yuanhui thought for a moment. Det. Please add one more clause, Your Majesty. Within 3 years, the eldest princess cannot divorce me, nor can she send me away. Cough, 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 cough. Why should I? If I am abandoned again, I would have no choice but to die. Here we go again. I quickly shut up. My brother rubbed his face, resigned. All right. Within 3 years, the eldest princess cannot divorce me. The imperial decree was written, sealed, and issued. Lu Yuanhui took it with both hands. He read it carefully 3 times. Thank you, Your Majesty, for your blessing. I take my leave. He took 2 steps, then stopped. He turned back to look at me. Your Highness. According to the rules, I should move into the eldest princess's residence tonight. After saying that, he turned and left. Don't look at me. You brought this on yourself. I stiffened my neck. I won't let him move in. My brother sneered. Then try it. See if he hangs himself from your beam tonight or smashes into your gate. Lu Yuanhui moved in that very night. I deliberately arranged his quarters at the westernmost end of the residence, separated from my main courtyard by a pond and 2 rockeries, but I couldn't stop him from having his own legs and coming over. The next day at noon, I had just opened my eyes when I saw Lu Yuanhui standing outside the door, holding a fruit box. He handed me the fruit box and carefully lifted the lid. Inside were several exquisitely made pastries. I didn't take it. I just stared at him. He paused, picked up a piece of osmanthus cake, and took a bite himself. It's not poisoned. Then he looked up at me. I took the fruit box, pinched a piece of shortbread, and tasted it. I didn't say it was poisoned either. Your Highness's food, clothing, shelter, and transportation are my responsibility. He stood there like a pine tree. Please inform me of your usual dining preferences and any dietary restrictions. I became a bit interested. Oh. You want to serve me, do you? I don't eat anything raw or cooked. I started counting on my fingers, muttering. He nodded. No lamb, it's gamey. Fish only steamed, braised is greasy. Fruits only crisp ones. Soft ones, I don't touch. Tofu must be tender. Shrimp must be peeled. I spoke faster and faster. I watched his brow furrow bit by bit. A mischievous feeling rose in my heart. Top scholar. The sage's books didn't teach you how to deal with a picky eater. Finally, I finished and waited to see his expression change. Lu Yuanhui was silent for a long time. Then he relaxed his brow. I understand. I was taken aback. That's it? No more? Boring. I turned and walked away. After 2 steps, I suddenly remembered I hadn't taken the fruit box. I stopped. Just as I was wondering how to turn back without losing face, Lu Yuanhui had already handed the fruit box to a nearby servant. The servant trotted over and presented it to me. I snorted, took the fruit box, and went into the house without looking back. As soon as the imperial decree was issued, the court exploded. Some called me absurd. More lamented the top scholars' wasted potential. The next day, Grand Secretary Wang came. This old man was a veteran of 3 reigns, stubborn as a rock. Back after the palace examination, he had insisted on praising Lu Yuanhui for half an incense stick's time, calling him a talent of national importance. Now that this talent was about to enter my eldest princess's residence, the old man couldn't sit still. Yuanhui, you are confused. 20 years of hard study, and once you pass the imperial examination, this is the time to serve the country. How can you be trapped in the inner quarters? Ruining your future? The old man's words were heavy, but his voice was choked. He truly cherished the younger generation. I have failed your high expectations, Grand Secretary. But in life, some things are more important than one's future. What things? Lu Yuanhui didn't answer. He turned his head slightly, glancing in my direction. I dodged behind a pillar. Peeking out from behind the pillar, I realized he wasn't looking at me. He was looking at the crabapple blossoms by the corridor, which were falling in a flurry. A gust of wind blew them all over his shoulders. He didn't brush them off. He let the light pink settle on his clothes. Grand Secretary Wang's scolding became muffled in the wind. Crabapple blossoms kept falling, covering the ground in a fine layer of pink and white. Half an hour later, Grand Secretary Wang finally ran out of breath to scold. He shook his sleeves, sighed, and staggered away. The courtyard suddenly became quiet. Lu Yuanhui was still standing there. He reached out and caught a falling petal. Finally, he closed it in his palm, and I, hiding behind the pillar, thought about Lu Yuanhui's gaze just now. He wasn't looking at me. So, what was this thing more important than his future that he was talking about? For a moment, I was confused, as if I had never known him. That day, my friend Susan dragged me to Qingfeng Tower to listen to the pipa. His eyes kept glancing at my face. So, how's it going? I was nibbling on melon seeds, but my mind was elsewhere. It's nothing. What do you mean, nothing? He was impatient. I took a sip of tea. It's just, that kind of thing. To be honest, marrying Lu Yuanhui isn't a loss for me. After all, it's not my brilliant future that's being thrown away. So you're really settling for her? Just because she's pretty, has a good figure, and can manage the household? The imperial decree has been issued. Can I take it back? Except for being a bit too old-fashioned, and always quoting the sage's books. She's not bad. Susan clicked his tongue twice. You'd better be careful. I always feel that Lu Yuanhui's look at you isn't right. What's not right? He always has a straight face. He looks at everyone the same way. I can't put my finger on it. At those palace banquets and poetry gatherings before, I ran into him several times behind you. Wasn't he always avoiding me? He was avoiding you. But every time you turned your back, he would watch you from behind. So what if he watches me? I'm good looking. What's wrong with him looking a few more times? It's not about lust, and it's not about disgust or hatred. It's Lia Butcher. Staring at the fattest pig in the pen, Susan was getting anxious. Waving his arms like an octopus, he said, "You'd better be more careful. A dog that bites doesn't bark. It's silent and colorless. Honest people are the most poisonous." How are you two getting along after marriage? How do you get used to each other? How do you eat? Can your tastes be the same? If they're not. When I returned, the sky was dim. I lifted the carriage curtain and was stunned. Why are you here? Lu Yuanhui was sitting inside, with a book rolled up in his hand. I stepped into the carriage. I came to take your highness home. Susan's words were spinning in my head. I sat down and stared at him sideways. His profile was illuminated and shadowed in the dim light. His gaze was fixed on the book scroll. He never looked up at me. He had always been like this. Whenever we happened to meet, he would always lower his eyes, bow, and greet me, polite and distant. Even during that hunting trip, when I chased a deer on horseback and almost fell down the slope, he scolded me in public for acting rashly. He quoted the classics for a long time, but even then, he never met my eyes. At that time, I was so angry that my teeth itched. I just thought this bookworm was putting on airs. A sudden urge for revenge arose. I stared at his profile. He still didn't turn his head. I reached out and grabbed his chin, turning his face towards me. Our eyes met. His whole body stiffened. The book slipped from his hand, falling onto the carriage floor with a thud. He just stared at me blankly, without even blinking. His gaze moved from my eyes, to the tip of my nose, then to my lips. He stopped there for a long time, then suddenly looked away. But his ears were already bright red. His voice was tight. This is against the rules. I am a traditional man. I went back and thought about it all night. The more I thought about it, the more I felt that Lu Yuanhui liked me. Isn't it obvious? I, Zhao Changjing, have a face, money, and power. Falling in love with me is only natural, but I couldn't just go up and ask him. That would make me look so narcissistic. I am known for being humble. I am good looking. What's wrong with him looking a few more times? What's wrong? Besides, he liked me first. Why should I be the one to speak up? I can't let him have the upper hand. I decided to tete him. Passing by the study, Lu Yuanhui was reading. I sidled up to him, leaning against his shoulder to look. My breath deliberately brushed past his ear. Time you got me feeling so long. His fingertips holding the book suddenly tightened. His Adam's apple bobbed, but he moved an inch away to the other side. Your Highness, you're blocking the light. During the afternoon nap, I called him over to read me a storybook. He read it in a perfect, flat tone, without any emotion. I stretched out my foot and accidentally touched him. He was completely frozen. He quickly stood up. Your Highness, I remember there's a document I haven't processed yet. As soon as he finished speaking, he turned around and walked away quickly. The hem of his clothes fluttered. I took 1 step forward, and he took 10 steps back. After more than 10 days, I hadn't even touched a piece of his clothing. I laughed in frustration. All right, Lu Yuanhui, you can pretend. I went to the palace to find my brother. As soon as I entered the hall, good heavens, a fragrant breeze hit me. My brother was beaming, dressed in flashy clothes. He was admiring a peach-red robe in front of a mirror. Eunuchs surrounded him, praising him. Your Majesty, you are extraordinarily elegant. This color makes you look like jade and pearls. I wrinkled my face. Your complexion is so delicate. I slumped into a chair. How old are you now? What do you know? Your sister-in-law likes me to dress brightly. The Miss Yuan she's been pining for finally got divorced a while ago. My brother's smile froze for half a second. Then he puffed out his chest again. Soon, I looked at him like this and didn't pour cold water on him. With Miss Yuan personality, she would never enter the palace. My brother would probably have to stay as a secret lover. I sighed. I poured out the whole sheetery about Lu Yuanhui's polite but distant, wooden behavior. My brother listened without saying a word. He slowly fiddled with the jade pendant at his waist. After a long time, he said, you care about him, don't you? He laughed. Why should I care if he likes me or not? It's not I lie him. I said confidently, why shouldn't I care? Lu Yuanhui falling for me, isn't that proof of my extraordinary charm? That I've bested him? Think about it. Being able to conquer someone you hate is such a satisfying thing. My brother's expression was lie he had eaten shit. We don't usually call that a person you hate. We call it an eyesore turtle grandson you plan to kill sooner or later. I ignored him and asked him to give me some advice. He was pestered by me until he couldn't take it anymore. He lowered his voice and whispered to me for a quarter of an hour. After I listened, my eyes went wide. Are you an emperor or a pimp? My brother said seriously, your sister-in-law loves this stuff. I went back and thought about it for 2 days. Forget it. I can't bring myself to do it. I, Zhao Changjing, have my pride. But then I had another thought, and I was amused. I can make Lu Yuanhui learn it. Let him please me. That solves it. I immediately sent someone to collect a basket of books. What are the 7 joys of the book? Elegant gatherings of wind and moon. I piled them all in his study, and I thoughtfully attached a note. Study hard. I'll check your homework later. Your Highness, Lu Yuanhui came that very afternoon. Where did you buy these books? He was holding those books in his hand. Shuangji Haitang Studio. What, not enough? I'll send someone to buy more. I was lounging, eating grapes, looking completely unconcerned. He nodded and turned to leave. He's quite studious. The next day, Haitang Studio was shut down. The charge was selling obscene materials that corrupted public morals. Lu Yuanhui even came to report it to me. His face was full of righteous indignation. This type of book corrupts public morals. I have had them all confiscated and burned. I was so angry I laughed. Lu Yuanhui, you're something else. You're something else. He stood up straight. I am acting according to the law. According to what law? What did the bookstore owner do to you? What did the readers do to you for reading some leisure books? What did the author do to you for writing something? My anger flared up. Obscene materials? Corrupting public morals? What obscenity? Obscenity, my voice rose. We've already done things more obscene than that. Can reading a book be a crime? Then we should both be in jail right now, holding hands and partying every night. Lu Yuanhui's ears instantly turned bright red. He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. He probably hadn't learned from the sage's books how to deal with this kind of mutual destruction nonsense. He struggled for a long time before finding his voice. What is done is not to be confused with what is written. Books circulate, corrupting the minds of thousands of scholars. The harm is widespread. Here we go again. That set of grand principles about cultivating oneself, regulating the family, governing the state, and pacifying the world. He went on and on like a chanting monk. But coincidentally, he could ramble, and I could use my hands. I don't care if it's your official robe or your private clothes. I grabbed it and wouldn't let go. He tried to pull it back. I pulled it towards me. The two of us started spinning around in the courtyard. I pulled with all my might. Right up. The collar of his official robe tore all the way to his shoulder. Half of his collarbone was clearly exposed. Lu Yuanhui reacted first. His face turned white, then red. Finally, it was a mix of green and white, like a palette. He suddenly raised his hand to cover his shoulder. His knuckles were white from gripping. Lu Yuanhui looked up and glared at me. His eyes were very complicated. Embarrassment mixed with something else. I didn't see clearly, turned and left. My steps were urgent and heavy. The hem of my official robe nearly flew up. I chased after him, shouting, "Don't be mad. I'll buy you 10, 20, but he didn't look back. His torn collar disappeared around the corridor corner, out of sight. Haitang Studio was Susan's secret business. Everyone used to turn a blind eye. But Lu Yuanhui, that clueless one, had to poke a hole through it all seriously. I stepped in, changing the charge from madness to a fine. When Lu Yuanhui found out, he came to me with a dark face. We argued in the study. He said I was bending the law for friends, allowing slander to spread. I flared up. I hate that you're the only pure one among all the officials. Haitang Studio has been opened for 3 years. It hasn't missed a single coin in taxes. All the necessary bribes were paid. Why didn't anyone investigate before? Do you think you're the only one with eyes? Just because you're new in office, your first fires burn on my sister's head? Rules are rules. Your Highness, how is this different from those corrupt officials? I laughed in anger. I am a corrupt official. My whole family are corrupt officials. Only you, Scholar Lu, are pure as ice and jade. Your eyes can't tolerate a speck of dust. Then why did you agree to marry me? Tied to a maggot like me. He was choked speechless by me. His chest heaved. His eyes were even a little red. Finally, he flicked his sleeves and left. I couldn't be bothered to chase him. Let him be angry. Who would indulge him? This Cold War lasted until our wedding day. During that time, he sent pastries 3 times. I returned them all unopened. The 4th time, he came himself. He stood outside the courtyard gate for an hour. I didn't let him in. The wedding ceremony was tedious, exhausting. When the night banquet ended, I was slightly tipsy. Susan and the others cheerfully escorted me to the bridal chamber. The crowd squeezed to the door. I raised my hand and pushed the door open. One look, and I slammed it shut again. Susan pounded on the door frantically. I took a couple of deep breaths, then turned and shouted at them. Before they could tease me, I opened the door a crack, slipped in quickly sideways, and locked it behind me. There was Lu Yuanhui, kneeling on the bed. His bright red wedding robe was taken off, folded neatly, and placed by the pillow. He had even tied himself up with red rope like a zongzi. I stood at the door, half sobered up. Lu Yuanhui's eyes flickered. Then he forced them to settle on my face. His voice was small. I wanted to make your highness het pie. I stood still. He waited, seeing no reaction from me. His ears turned red bit by bit. Even his neck flushed crimson. This zongzi was really poorly wrapped. The rope was tied a bit too tight. I walked over, my shoes scuffing the floor. A faint sound. His breathing softened. I stopped in front of him and looked down. This face was indeed handsome. Then, like unwrapping a gift, I carefully untied the rope on the zongzi. A few hours later, Lu Yuanhui sighed. That sigh fell into the candlelight, like someone who had walked a long road, and finally made it home. Acting rashly. Losing all decorum. Have you read yourself, stupid? How dare you lecture me in public about being fake and pretentious? Your Majesty, I am a traditional man. I've read the sage's books since childhood. I know shame and value reputation. Since it's come to this, there are only two paths. First, I die to preserve my integrity and spare your highness's reputation. Second, since we have consummated the marriage, we should bear the name of husband and wife. Your lack of resolve matches my wandering. I recall there's still a document to process. Hey, what a blockhead. The next day, when we went to the palace to thank the emperor, Lu Yuanhui was kept behind by my brother. They whispered in the hall for nearly a stick of incense. When the door opened and Lu Yuanhui came out, his ears were a bit red. When he saw me looking, he immediately straightened his back, putting on a stern face again. On the carriage ride back to the mansion, what did my brother say to you? He stared ahead, his Adam's apple bobbing slightly. His Majesty taught me how to maintain marital harmony and build a harmonious household. I was speechless. My brother can teach such proper things? Lu Yuanhui had been busy lately. A consort can't hold real power. He was handing over his duties to colleagues, transferred to a leisurely pot. He left early and returned late every day, handing over documents with colleagues. He didn't seem to show any emotion. I didn't know if he was resigned to it. But his family wasn't. Lu Yuanhui's birth mother died early. His father remarried. He dumped Lu Yuanhui at his grandfather's place. Didn't ask about him for over a decade. Now, of all things, they came all the way from their hometown. Ma Najio Lu Yuanhui wasn't at the mansion that day. I met his crazy parents. I've seen plenty of crazy people. After all, the craziest was the year my father put a lock charm on my mother. My mother stabbed him 3 times and casually fed him a sterilizing potion. What scene haven't I seen? But someone as ridiculous as Lu Yuanhui's father, I'd never encountered before. He opened his mouth demanding money, stretched out his hand demanding power. A 7-courtyard mansion must be prepared, and he needed a future arranged for his younger son, implying that since his son had married up, the whole family should rise with him. I propped my chin and watched their performance lie a show. They gave me the illusion that I have a good temper, just as I was deciding whether to drag them out myself or have the guards throw them out. Lu Yuanhui came back. He stood at the door, his face expressionless. His gaze swept over his father and stepmother. Finally, it landed on my face. Then he walked over, reached out and grabbed his father by the back of the collar. His father wasn't tall. Lifted like that, his feet left the ground. He flailed a couple of times, stunned. His stepmother immediately shrieked. Lu Yuanhui ignored her, dragged his father out, carrying a flapping chicken. His father came to his senses and started cursing. The sound faded into the distance. I called out, "Are you coming back for dinner tonight?" He didn't stop walking. His voice drifted back from the corridor. Very crisp reply. I raised an eyebrow and sat back down to drink tea. When Lu Yuanhui came back that evening, I was feeding the fish in the yard. Solved. His voice was flat. I quickly asked, "How did you solve it?" He walked over and stood beside me. Signed a document. 1 go, 2 copies. They take the money and leave. No more trouble. My hand, scattering fish food, paused. Just that, he looked at me, a hint of confusion in his eyes. How did they agree to sign? Gave them some money. 3,000 taels to cut ties cleanly. I was directly silenced by his naivety. With a father like his, a gold mountain couldn't fill that greedy hole. There would be endless trouble in the future. Lu Yuanhui was still too green to understand human greed. Once greedy, never enough. Why not just root out the problem? As soon as the words left my mouth, I regretted them. How stupid, Zhao Changjing. That's his own father. No matter how rotten, he's still family. What are you playing at, acting like the king of hell? I was about to backtrack when I saw Lu Yuanhui freeze completely. My heart skipped a beat. Lu Yuanhui suddenly stepped forward, raised his hand and covered my mouth, quickly looked left and right. Then he leaned in close to me, whispering urgently in my ear. How can you say such things in public? I was silent again. I pried his hand away. I hesitated. His expression was serious. He moved half a step closer to me. His voice dropped even lower. Lie a thief. Even if we have to do it, it has to be at night. He was really considering it. Not whether he should, but how to do it. That night, Lu Yuanhui detailed his plan to me. I was dumbfounded. He straightened his expression, looking serious. How can this be called using a borrowed knife to kill? His voice was steady, as natural as reciting a book. I'm just letting the people who need to know the things they need to know. What if they still get into trouble? They can't repay it, and they won't repay me. Getting the top scholar title and marrying a princess. The news spread back to the village long ago. The moment he entered the capital, the debtors were on his tail. Who would believe he has no money? 3,000 taels isn't enough to fill the hole. The debtors will just think he's hiding a gold mountain and won't pay. What if the debtors bring your father to you for money? Lu Yuanhui looked up. I belong to the eldest princess. Would they dare touch me? Nai, Lu Yuanhui. You're good at using your power to bully people. I'll handle it. Thank you, Your Highness. A month later, a plea for help from Lu's father arrived. The gist was that as soon as they got home, the debtors grabbed them. The silver wasn't even enough for the interest. He said he'd send someone to the capital to get money from Lu Yuanhui. Got beaten up and cursed at. The letter ended with him asking Lu Yuanhui to send some money. I didn't even let the letter get to Lu Yuanhui. I threw it straight into the fire. My own little fool. Only I, Zhao Changjing, get to bully him. Besides, the capital is far from Langia, over mountains and rivers. A letter getting lost on the long journey is perfectly normal. Lu Yuanhui found out about this 3 days later. That night, he tossed and turned. The bedboards creaked. I kicked him. He went still. In the dark, his breathing was heavy. After a long time, he finally spoke. His voice was low and hoarse. Do you think I'm too ruthless? I was silent, a bit puzzled. Does this even count as ruthless? After a while, he asked again, do you think I'm duplicitous, having a scheming mind, Lu Yuanhui? Is that a bad thing? In this world, those without a scheming mind get eaten alive, bones and all. But I don't care how you treat outsiders. Just don't use those tricks on me. Then you can have 800 tricks up your sleeve, and I'll still be het pie. After I said that, Lu Yuanhui was quiet for a long time. I leaned over and touched his face in the dark. My fingertips felt a little wet. Are you crying? No, he mumbled. He buried his face deeper into my palm. Go to sleep. I clicked my tongue. I didn't call him out on it. My other hand reached over and patted his back. As autumn began, official transfers happened frequently. The promotion notices for those who passed the exams with Lu Yuanhui poured into the mansion like snowflakes. Lu Yuanhui and I couldn't avoid attending banquet after banquet. The tables were lively, cups clinking. Everyone's face was flushed with the glow of a new promotion. The Hanlin Academy reader clapped him hard on the shoulder, sighing. To marry a princess. Brother Lu, what good fortune. The words were pretty, but the look that drifted over carried a hint of pity mixed with something else. Lai looking at a precious jade vase placed high on a shelf. Beautiful, but dusty and useless. I turned my head. Lu Yuanhui was concentrating on peeling shrimp for me. Amidst the table's noise, she looked at no one, just kept her head down. After peeling, she put the shrimp meat into my dish. She peeled so earnestly, she didn't even mind the grease on her fingers. I stared at those hands. These hands should be holding a brush, writing brilliant essays. And now here they were, peeling shrimp for me. On the carriage ride back, I asked her, do you regret becoming a consort? He was startled, then turned to look at me. His face was full of tension. Regret. Before I could say anything, he started rambling again. I was speechless again. That little bit of melancholy I had was instantly blown away. Who said I regret it? I was asking you. What would I regret? You studied hard for over a decade. You even became the top scholar. Gave up all your ambitions and future. No regrets. Truly, no regrets. No regrets, he answered too quickly. I didn't quite believe him. Just as I was about to press him further, he suddenly lifted his face. His gaze locked onto me firmly, as if he had made some decision. Taking the exams, becoming an official, becoming the top scholar. His Adam's apple bobbed, his voice dropping. It was all to get closer to you. I was stunned. What? He didn't repeat it. Just pursed his lips and looked at me. The light from the lanterns outside swept across his cheek. My mind was buzzing. We've met before. It took me a while to snap out of it. He didn't say anything. What? Did I hit you back then? When I was a child, I really wasn't the kind of person you'd remember fondly. Thinking it over, the possibility of making an enemy was much higher than making a friend. But I racked my brains and couldn't remember any chance I had to hit him. Lu Yuanhui is from Langia. When I was little, I went to Qingzhou with my parents on an inspection tour, but I never set foot in Langia. When did this happen? Where? He wouldn't say. Just turned his face away, staring at the swaying carriage curtain. His lips were pressed tightly together. He was hiding a huge secret. He had held it in for so long, and now it was just peeking out. But he didn't know how to let it all out. I stared at him the whole way, from the carriage to the mansion gate, from getting off the carriage to the corridor. The questions I wanted to ask swirled on the tip of my tongue, but looking at his face, which looked even more handsome, in the lantern light, I suddenly forgot what I wanted to ask. This face was really good-looking, and the way he walked, with that upright posture, somehow exuded a hint of allure. I was bewitched by this beauty for a moment. By the time I came to my senses, I had already pulled her into the room. "Your Highness, the servants will be coming to deliver things soon." Lu Yuanhui, stop pretending in front of me. That's how Lu Yuanhui was. He wanted me to be closer to him, but he wouldn't say it. He just looked at you with those clear, bright eyes. That night, I was so tired I could barely keep my eyes open. But she slowly snuggled up to me, her arms wrapped around my waist, her forehead gently pressed against the back of my neck. She called my name. I was groggy with sleep. I patted her back in return. I'm here. Go to sleep." He was quiet for a moment. Then, as if to confirm something, he called again. Changing, I could only answer him again. This repeated, and I lost my patience. I pulled his head into my arms. "I'm right here, not going anywhere," he hummed softly, pulled me closer into his arms. Our heartbeats pressed together, beat by beat, steadily falling into a dream. "Consort, tell me. When did you set your sights on me?" "Your Highness, I'm not very good at telling these things." "Fine, then we'll sleep in separate rooms tonight." "Your Highness, I can actually try." Ready. Yuanhui, we have distinguished guests today. That guest has a son and daughter around your age. You must be warm and welcoming. Don't always be so serious. But I still have to study. Grandfather. Grandfather hesitated, shook his head and walked out of the room. A few days later, the distinguished guests his grandfather mentioned arrived. The adults talked in the main hall. Grandfather gestured for him to take the two children to play in the corridor. The boy was lively. He came over and asked what book he was reading. The girl looked at him with sparkling eyes. Naturally, the books of the sages. Perhaps they had never seen such a little antique. The siblings exchanged a glance, then ran off into the yard by themselves. He breathed a sigh of relief and sat back down in the corridor. Continued reading, turning the pages. The sound of play came from a distance. He looked up and his soul nearly left his body. That little girl was lifting her skirt and climbing the old apricot tree in the corner of the yard. "Step on that thick branch on the left." Lu Yuanhui quickly went to stop her. "How can you do this? It's against all propriety." "What if you fall?" Before he could finish, a green apricot fell from the tree. It hit her right on the forehead. It didn't hurt, but it was cold. "Don't shout. If you call my mother, we're doomed." "Brother, can you keep watch for us?" Just for a while, Lu Yuanhui opened his mouth, wanted to say no, it wasn't proper, but the siblings looked at him with such hopeful eyes. He could only nod, picked up his book and went back to the pillar, but his ears were pricked, listening for any noise. That day, the three of them ended up sitting side by side on the well curb, each holding a green apricot. The brother took a bite and his whole face scrunched up. The sister followed suit, her little face falling. She looked at Lu Yuanhui reproachfully. He looked down at his own intact apricot. "Haven't you eaten the apricots from your own tree? By the time they're ripe, the birds have pecked them all." "Oh, you've missed out on your own tree's fruit. You never thought about when they'd ripen." After enduring this, the siblings started giving him advice. How to keep birds away, how to hide the apricots. As they talked, the subject drifted away. "Is there a lantern festival on the 5th? Do you know where the liveliest place in the city is on that night?" "I don't know. Grandfather rarely allows me to go out." "That's okay. We're not leaving until the end of the month. When the Lantern Festival comes, you tell your grandfather you've agreed. We'll go together. All three of us." He didn't answer. He thought grandfather probably wouldn't allow it. As they were leaving, the little girl suddenly came back. She shoved another apricot into his hand. "Keep an eye on it. Don't let the birds get it again." For the next 10 or so days, he studied with extra diligence. Lying in bed at night, he couldn't help counting how many days were left until the 15th. He thought, maybe if his studies were even better, grandfather would agree. But before the 15th arrived, that family had left in a hurry. The next deep spring, he was scolded by his grandfather. He hung his head and backed out of the study. When he looked up, he froze. The tree was full of green apricots, all perfectly hanging on the branches. He stared at them for a long time. That night, he sneaked to the tree by himself. The moonlight was hazy. The shadows of the branches swayed on the ground. He rolled up his sleeves and started to climb. He had read many books, but this was his first time climbing a tree. His foot slipped, and he fell, landing hard on the muddy ground. The noise alerted the patrolling servants. When grandfather saw him in such a mess, he gave him another good scolding. Lu Yuanhui knelt there without a word. Did they leave so suddenly? Without even saying goodbye? It was much later that he learned that distinguished couple was actually the emperor and empress traveling incognito. My father put a lock charm on my mother. My mother stabbed him 3 times and casually fed him a sterilizing potion. This is the family tradition. What scene haven't I seen? It was much later that he learned that distinguished couple and the little girl who had shoved a green apricot into his hand, whose eyes sparkled like stars, was Princess Zhao Changing. That day, he held the book page, unmoving for a long time. The apricot tree outside the window no longer bore fruit, leaving only bare branches, silently pointing at the gray sky. When he was 10, his grandfather died of illness. In the morning hall, white banners fluttered. The smell of incense and candles was choking. He knelt upright, but his mind was a blank void. His father was indifferent. His stepmother was harsh. The days and nights in the old Langya mansion stretched on endlessly. When a person is in a sea of suffering, they need a little hope to hold on to. But he could only scrape together a little bit. A vague afternoon. 3 little figures sitting side by side on the well curb, each holding a sour green apricot. At first, I had no other thoughts. He just thought studying was hard, so he wanted whether the 3 of them could still go to the Lantern Festival together. Seeing Zhao Changing again was Lu Yuanhui. At age 18 on the capital's main street, a rogue galloped his horse and knocked over an old man's vegetable stall, and raised his whip to strike. Lu Yuanhui was about to step forward. A figure snatched the whip before him. Then a crisp crack landed on the rogue's face. How dare you hit me? Do you know who I am? He flicked the whip, his tone arrogant, but carried a domineering air. I don't care who you are. Daring to bully the people in the street. This princess, hit you just for that. The rogue's face paled, and he scrambled away. Lu Yuanhui stood still, not moving. He watched him, casually tossing the whip to the guard behind him. He pulled a silver ingot from his pouch, and placed it in the old man's trembling hands. Then turned and shouted toward the rogue's escape route. If I see you oppressing the people again, I'll break your legs. Lu Yuanhui listened, suddenly felt something strike his chest. Dull and burning hot. From the murmurs of the bystanders, he learned that was Princess Zhao, the girl who once leaned close to him by the railing. This time, it seemed more than just longing. He was smitten. Later, through his cold, hard days and nights, every time he couldn't hold on, he thought, climb higher, stand out more. Maybe one day, he would glance down from the high seat. Just one glance, just one. Later, he really did become the top scholar. On the parade day, he rode on horseback, his back straight as an arrow. His gaze secretly swept across the towers on both sides, always searching for Zhao Changjing's shadow. Only later did he hear from others. The eldest princess found it too crowded that day and never left home. The breath in his chest suddenly deflated, empty and hollow. Later, he did see her at a palace banquet. She was surrounded by attendants, dressed in splendid robes. Someone introduced him, and he stepped forward to bow, his voice tight, Your Highness. She leaned back in her seat, tilted her head and looked him over slowly from head to toe. Lu Yuanhui's heart pounded wildly, as if under interrogation. The top scholar is indeed more handsome than the third-place scholar. Her voice was low, just loud enough to drift into his ears. A light, casual remark, yet it crashed like thunder in his heart. She finished speaking and turned her gaze away, continuing to chat and laugh with others. Lu Yuanhui retreated to his seat. When he sat down, his palms were drenched in sweat. He gripped his wine cup, looked down at the wavering reflection in the liquid. That light flickered, dim and bright, lie his shameful, hidden thoughts. Did he remember? Perhaps. But all he remembered was that he was more handsome than the third-place scholar. Those later chance encounters were all carefully calculated by him. Lu Yuanhui began to follow the invitations to capital banquets. Which poetry gathering, which palace feast, would Zhao Changjing attend? He always had to inquire about the details in advance. After gathering the information, he would plan by lamplight how to bow and greet her properly, which robe to wear to look refined, but not too deliberate. It had only been 3 days since their last conversation. Would approaching again seem too frequent? When he actually saw her, he dared not look too much. He lowered his eyes, bowed, his voice flat. A simple, "Your Highness," then stepped aside to clear the path. But his peripheral vision clung to her, watching what errand she was on today, what clothes she wore, whether her lips were curved or pressed tight. And Zhao Changjing's gaze toward him was always looking at an object, a beautiful object, a useful object. What truly made her lift her eyes to look at him was at the hunting grounds. He chased a deer wildly on horseback, rushing toward a broken slope. Lu Yuanhui, don't be nervous, you can do it. Say something caring to her, it will surely win her favor. Acting too rashly. Losing all decorum. Lu Yuanhui, what nonsense are you saying? No wonder even your grandfather says you're boring. Zhao Changjing stopped and turned to look at him, her face tight, brows furrowed. Top scholar, you sure meddle a lot. JK. It's over, Lu Yuanhui. You really are an idiot. After that, whenever he saw her coming from afar, he instinctively avoided her. If he couldn't avoid her, he'd lower his eyes and bow, his voice flat and controlled, not daring to utter a single extra word, afraid one more word would annoy her further. But who would have thought, that night after the palace banquet ended, he walked alone toward the palace gate. Suddenly, 2 guards appeared behind him. Politely, they tied him up, and then he should have pushed her away. That's what the books taught, but he didn't. At first, Lu Yuanhui truly planned to take the slow and steady route. Slow and steady leads to natural success. Time turns to ash, and mutual affection shines. Though his little light, in Zhao Changjing's eyes, was a blind man lighting a lamp. That night was an accident, and the most outrageous thing he'd ever done in his life. So outrageous that afterward, lying there, his mind buzzed. Half was the collapse of utter disgrace, half was the dizziness of it actually happening. 2 forces twisted and pulled, tearing him apart, scattering his soul. So later, when he tried to hang himself or hit the wall, 70% was truly believing it was over. 30% was risking it all on a gamble. If he lost, he'd go home and hang himself. If he won, he dared not think. Ah, what are you doing? Then what do you want? And he actually won the gamble. When Zhao Changjing said she'd take responsibility, he agreed instantly, afraid she'd change her mind. This is acceptable. The imperial decree was written and stamped. He, on the other hand, didn't know what step to take next. The books hadn't taught this. He'd read all the sages' works. Not one was titled, How to Win Your Wife's Heart. Slow and steady, he thought. There's still time. But Zhao Changjing was clearly not one to be kept still. She was a fire, burning here and there. One moment gone without a trace, the next teasing. He couldn't catch up, and dared not chase too close, afraid she'd be annoyed, afraid she'd find him clingy. And those storybooks Zhao Changjing tossed at him. He opened one page, and his eyelids twitched. What is this nonsense? Where's the decency? He blushed, his ears burning. The world has gone to ruin. Hearts are no longer pure. He reported Haitang Studio. During those days of Cold War, Lu Yuanhui truly had no more tricks. He sought an audience with His Majesty. His original intention was to ask for advice. Don't be so reserved. But when his brother-in-law heard his request, he stroked his chin and smiled mysteriously. His advice was completely off the beaten path. 2 little people fought in his mind. One shouted absurd, the other timidly thought, what if it works? His Majesty's final instructions still buzzed in his ears, mixed with a hint of mischievous laughter. What is all this? Ah, but Zhao Changjing was immune to both soft and hard tactics. His sage-like reasoning meant nothing to her. Maybe he needed to try something different. This thought surfaced. He startled himself first. Face and rules, by the time Zhao Changjing turned to leave, were already shattered. He steeled his heart. Lu Yuanhui gradually began to find the way. Zhao Changjing yields to softness, not hardness. Reasoning is less effective than showing weakness. His restrained dependence, the occasional hint of grievance, worked far better than all the sages' teachings. Ah, those little schemes of his. Zhao Changjing wasn't entirely unaware. No matter how many capital banquets there were, you couldn't run into each other 7 out of 10 times. The remaining 3 were ladies' gatherings, which didn't invite outside men. Otherwise, how could he be so sure Lu Yuanhui liked him? Lu Yuanhui, I see you're not old-fashioned at all. You're very shrewd. All those 800 tricks of yours, you've used every single one on me. Your Highness flatters me. Come take a look at this document. Your Highness, the consort must avoid suspicion. The handwriting on this memorial. Who wrote it? Your Highness. In whose name was it submitted? Also Your Highness. So what does that have to do with you, Lu Yuanhua? Even if it does. We're husband and wife. I am puzzled by official matters. You give me some advice. Which law does that break? What do you think? Can it really be like this? Your Highness, oh, by the way, was that wedding night stunt really taught by my brother? Your Highness, keep your voice down. It wouldn't look good for His Majesty if this gets out. Oh, come on. I know my brother's character. Every official in the court knows it well. Besides, everyone in our Zhao family has a reputation. But enough, enough. Look how scared you are. Let's not talk about them. Husband, please rest. My lady, please. Husband, please, don't be so formal with me.